Relationship-based marketing, again, is my favorite way to generate business for our firm. And in this conversation with Scott and Ryan, we learned about how they use the relationship-based marketing model to grow their insurance business. Can you, off the top of your head, think of any systems in which your business uses to grow? And you can go deeper on how Jake is part of that if you want.
Yeah. Are you talking about actual systems that we pay for, though?
No, I'm talking about...
It doesn't have to be. Sometimes it is.
Yeah,
Sometimes
so you're
it's
just
their
talking
voice.
about the team.
The way your
the
team operates, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So you got any thoughts?
Could you step out of your business for a month?
No.
All right, so you're still working on building the operation.
Oh, definitely,
right?
definitely. I mean,
So that's
I think you did well last week when you left for Disney.
The way his operation works, from what I can tell so far from the conversation, is that he has salespeople, and he's got his dad as a sales kind of consultant and managing his service manager, and then he's got Jake, who's on the back end, and whenever renewal comes up, Jake's shopping everybody to make sure that they are going to be in the best rate possible with all the carriers that they use.
So he's pipeline management.
With your current
All right,
client.
I'll tell him that later.
Yeah. Does Jake wear khakis?
He does sometimes.
Was he ever with State Farm?
He was not. He was with a title company.
Oh, poor thing. And he survived?
He did.
Look at him go.
What? I pulled
Good
him
guy.
away right before.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
What's
Kind
his
of like
last
people
name?
that have been in the Army, you know?
Oh, is he related to Mr. Bob? Interesting. Yeah, that if he has been a part of that company, he's seen how a great company can run, because they are they're definitely one of they are, like, in the New Orleans area, probably seen as the best title company in New Orleans, and the way that he has been able to do that over such a long period of time, Mr. Bob, it's been impressive, and it's something that other people can admire who are starting their business and thinking about what we can look to aspire to one day. So he's definitely seen how a great business can operate, and in the title business is not easy. We talked about relationships and the way that you have to constantly be in front of people, especially real estate agents, because they're not always easy to deal with.
I think they're terrible.
It's so
Except you.
No. Yeah, obviously.
So and we talked a little bit about the EOS. You mentioned that you know what that is.
Yeah, I mean, I'm right now year 5, so we turn 5 years tomorrow.
Oh, happy early birthday.
Yeah. And
33 years old. He started at 28.
Love it. Yeah, and year 5, you're out of the, ultimate death zone of like the first 3 years. So congrats to that. You won't drop dead tomorrow.
yeah, right now, a big reason why we brought Scott on is because I was in growth mode for myself. I was writing the majority of the policies of the office for all 5 years. Right now, I'm trying to take a step back, delegate, and I want to make the office as efficient as possible. So I've been listening to podcasts and whatnot to try and learn, do whatever I can on my spare time to, I don't know, basically make it run smoother. Just like, I forgot who said it, if I left for a month, if it could still run just as well without me.
That's the goal eventually.
Yeah.
I think people spend a lot of time, or they struggle with spending time working on the business versus in the business. So how are you doing in that transition of being the one that's been in the business, writing the majority of the policies, and then taking that specific time to say, okay, what am I great at? What am I not so great at? Finding those complementary personalities to figure out what you're even going to leverage, right? What are you going to delegate? Right. And then whether you're actually going to freaking delegate. That's the other problem for business owners.
Right now, it's been tough for me personally, just because it's almost like giving your baby away, because I actually enjoy writing the policies. That's something, getting a new policy, it's like a small win. You feel like you did something, you scored a goal, whatnot. Getting away from that is great to feel like, oh, yeah, I can give it to him and it's going to get done because I trust it. I trust my other agents, 7 agents. But, yeah, now it's like a new animal. That I'm trying to focus on something that I've never done. I feel like my office could have somebody like a COO to help me. It's just something that I'm gonna take this whole year to try and figure out how to better suit the company, what I can put my new talent.
So let's start from the top. Like, so part of our business planning system that we put people through is the first real meeting is we lay the foundation for a few main points. So do you have a value system for your organization?
What do you mean by that?
Do you have like key core values that you hold yourself and your team accountable to, and that you try to make decisions through a lens of these are the things that I use for my organization?
I guess I don't. I don't have anything written down. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, I'd say you probably do, but have you put it on paper to where you can communicate it to your team? Right? Because that's that point of accountability that I think people forget about, right? It's easy to jump in and say, this is what I expect of you, but when it's not in writing, what is there to reference when you're holding them accountable?
Besides like a training manual that I have for them, I don't have something like, honor, loyalty. I don't have words like something like that.
And a lot of people have a hard time wrapping their brain around like, why would I just pick a bunch of random words and put them on the wall and try to hold you accountable to it? But what Lauren walks business owners through is that you probably, if you took a group of words, you might have 100 of them, and you tried to whittle it down to the 5. But a lot of people have a hard time after they've kind of circled the first 15, and then they got to highlight just 10 of those 15, and then they got to pick just 5 of those 10. Once you start kind of wordsmithing what your actual values are, it's really not just one word. It's that word defined in a specific way that's unique to you. And once you've done that, you can take the other words that you didn't choose as your top 5, and they're probably going to fit into one of those 5 main words that you've chosen. And you've created that value, not just leadership in the general sense, but what leadership means to you as a business owner, or to us as a business owner, so that you can start using that as a tool whenever you're not, like making decisions, hiring people, firing people, and those types of things. Definitely. It makes a huge difference. And I would bet that, there's several ways to look at it, but if there's something that keeps you up at night because of something that's happened, if you kind of reverse engineered whatever that is that keeping you up at night, it's probably going to be related to some value that you have. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And so that exercise is really important.
And what I found out is that you do have it, you just didn't put it on paper.
Yeah, and that's what I meant if I didn't say it correctly. Yeah.
No, because I'm the same way. Like I can't articulate what I want in life, but I can feel it, which is weird to say. And like I put myself around people that I feel have the common goal environment, but I can't write that down. But I can feel it.
Oh, you can. We're going to write it, Scotty. You ready?
I can write it.
Yeah, I just try and treat every single person in my office as well as I can. I truly believe in karma. What you do to somebody is going to come back to you.
Correct.
And I think, since day one, people get lost in money, and I've rather take one less dollar because I think it'll come back to me tenfold.
Correct.
By treating everybody as well as I can. But yeah, no, I agree. Those are things that I need to do, and that's what I want to focus on in 2020.
Just so you know, I just made up my mind that this part of the conversation we're going to use for our own content. So you're just going to roll with it.
Oh, did you know?
Yeah, I did. And so the other thing that we do on day one is that we help people identify what their vision is for their organization and what the purpose of their organization is. And so, for us, the partners at our firm were very clear on we were coming together a common vision. And, recently we've realized that we probably need to be more specific to be able to articulate what our real vision is. I mean, we want to be a resource to businesses in St. Tammany Parish and help the businesses in St. Tammany be better.
That's why we exist. That's our purpose.
It really is. And so, our purpose
why we're sitting here.
Yeah. Our purpose is to create an environment where our clients and our employees can succeed all through a common set of values. And we have 5 core values. And so the podcasting, it is, while we sometimes think this is draining and tiring and we're spending a lot of time putting energy into this, like the purpose of this is for you guys to promote your business and for us to be able to help other business owners, better business owners, through listening to the content. So when you think about it from that lens, we're supposed to be doing this. We're supposed to be having this conversation. And so being really clear about what your purpose is allows you to realize whether you're chasing squirrels or not, or whether you're actually doing what's actually the purpose of your organization, why you created it.
When you're intentional, you scale faster.
Yeah. And then the last part of day one in our first meeting that we do with people is helping them identify what their ideal client is. And people, and real estate especially, always say, well, I don't want to just pigeonhole myself to one group of people.
And I say, fight me.
Yeah. You do. And we encourage people to think of it differently, is that if you're really intentional about who you're trying to attract, as long as that group of people is big enough to be able to sustain your business, then you can be very intentional about how you spend your time and where you spend your resources to make sure that you're getting the type of business that you want. And, like our ideal client is very specific, that from a basic standpoint, we've defined them with the gender, the age, how many, their family size, what house they bought, what they like to do for fun, where they get their news, what their goals are, and what their problems are. We've identified it so intensely that we can know exactly where that person's going to be So if we get asked to spend money somewhere and we know they're there, the answer is very easily yes. And if they're not going to be there, then we can make a decision as to whether we're supporting somebody that we enjoy, that we want to support, that may not be where our ideal client is. But we can actually make an intentional decision. And also, to piggyback on that, if your process is tight, the way you operate your business, then likely that the work that you do for your ideal client will be very similar product to what you offer to anybody else. So people are out there hearing you and saying, oh, well, I'm not, like, they may not be your ideal client, but that doesn't mean you're not going to do business with them. You're going to plug them into your system, but what you're talking about and saying and doing, and where you're spending your money and time, is going to be where your ideal client's going to be. And so, have you thought much about that? Who you truly want to do business with?
Not necessarily. Like I said, we've been in growth mode.
Yeah.
You know, so anybody. Well, I mean, like anybody needs insurance. You know, we've tried to help out everybody that we can, because we can't say no to people, to our relationship partners.
Mm-hmm.
You know, somebody sends us somebody who, you know, is a client that we don't want to take on. It's kind of tough to say.
Well, sometimes
Yeah, we
your
don't really say
client
no
in
either.
our world is also the vendor. So, like, the lender is technically, I mean, on paper, is your client. So, what you're attracting to do relationships with that lender, title company, real estate agent, you're attracting your ability, like, to them, and they're gonna come back.
Well, the referral partner is your ideal client because
Yes.
that's who's sending you more.
Correct.
The
Yeah.
client is just lanyap that's coming in, but you're going to spend your resources and your marketing dollars going after your lender partners, your referral partner. And so, I mean, that's the point that we try to make. It's like, it's never a position of, oh, we don't want to help a certain group of people. I want to help everybody that I encounter every day. Like that's my personal life purpose, right? What impact am I going to have on every individual that I encounter? So we're never going to tell somebody no. But when it comes down to spending our energy and our resources, our dollars, right? Our hard dollars on deciding where we're going to be on what marketing platforms, what print magazines we're going to use. We're going to put those dollars behind the ideal client, right? And then we're still going to service everybody from there. And so we get that question all day, every day, because being a new brand, even though we're not new to the practice of law, we really had to hit the ground hard from a marketing standpoint. So people come to us all the time and like, can you just tell me how I need to do marketing? I mean, I had an email in my inbox this morning and like, don't y'all offer that service? And immediately I'm like, okay, let's talk about who you're targeting and what you want to say to them, right? You can only do that once you figure out your values, your purpose of your company, where you want that company to go, your vision, and who that person is that you are targeting. Then we can have a conversation about it, because I promise you, if you looked at our budget, you're not going to want to spend what we're doing in all the same places unless we have the same ideal client, right? And so sometimes the answer is, well, let's put in some time, right, to think about that. And that's what helps somebody scale intentionally, not be distracted by squirrels, and not go spend wasted marketing dollars. Because that spaghetti at the wall approach, like, oh, well, I saw these people on TikTok, so I'm going to get on TikTok. Well, our client's not on TikTok. I could give a shit less if we have a TikTok account, right? And then even, when it comes down to some of our attorneys and how their content resonates, is they're following on Facebook? Is it on Instagram? Like you see those differences, but you have to find what works for you.
Going back to even we're marketing through Nick Underhill and Wallenstein, like you're a huge sports fan.
Oh, definitely.
So like the clientele who's listening to that podcast is me. Like you, and look at we're good. We can connect through a clientele. So you're already doing it.
You're already building that profile for him.
Correct.
Yeah.
You don't even realize you're doing it.
The reason why we're doing it is because he's a client.
And he's a client.
Yeah,
Sometimes your best clients, like when I have, any of our business partners that are struggling to figure out their ideal client, I'm like, all right, think about the client you hate, your worst client, and think about your best client and start there, because you can usually pick that out. And that's immediately we went to, oh, well, yeah, that's a client. We love him. Your values probably align, which is why you enjoy doing business with him. And so you're going to go spend your marketing dollars there. So it's happening. It's just, are you able to then take that and communicate it to your team? That's where you start to leverage and scale that everybody's moving in one direction towards one common goal. That's what an operating system does. That's what allows somebody to step out of the business and ultimately step in that owner's box, go look for other opportunities, because they have everybody aligned into one common goal, and everybody knows and has that clear expectation of where it's going.
Well, you sold me.
and also, when the two fun questions that I like once you kind of build a profile is, what is your ideal client's goal, and what problems are between them and their goal, right? I mean, like you said, it being a relationship based service provider, and having lenders being a big part of that and agents. It's like, what is in between the agent and their goal? Agents and lenders' goals is to close real estate deals. It's usually being creative on the insurance, I would imagine, in some form or fashion. And so when you create the educational content around it, it's like, hey, mortgage lender, instead of just saying, hey, world, this is, and then saying what you're going to say, it's like, hey, mortgage lender, if you're having a hard time finding the right insurance for your client, this is what you need to know. 1, 2, 3. And you say that. And so now when you say it that way, when your video goes on social media, every mortgage lender is going to be like, he's talking to me. You know what I'm saying? And so you can be more direct in what you're saying. It's like,
and actually add value with your content.
And look, we're not perfect at it, because when we for the first 2 years, we did 250 unique short form videos every single day. So 2 years in a row. So it's 500 videos. And most of our videos over the last 2 years have been like, a power of attorney is this. Right. And so like, nobody, everybody swipe. Like people don't realize what they need. Some people are interested in it. We get 8 to 10 likes. But if I said, hey, if
We're
you're
really comparing our hair,
yeah, you're right.
which I'm gonna win. That's fine.
But if I said, hey, if you're a business owner trying to grow your business, this is what you need to know about a power of attorney. Now you're going to say, okay, well, I'm a business owner. I'm trying to grow my business. Why do I need a power of attorney in order to make those things happen? Right. Now,
what am I missing out on?
Yeah, way more interested in what I'm saying. So again, the ideal client profile is a huge part of our process on how we teach people to create an operating system. And then, once we get into day 2 and 3, we really get in more of like the nitty gritty, like how you actually manage your team and hold your team accountable. Right. And one of the things that I want to talk to you about, which I think is interesting, is building the ideal accountability chart for your organization. Like Lauren calls it building your utopia. And I have heard people say it's like building the Disney World and what you envision your business looking like whenever you've made it, whenever your business is there, if you're ever going to be there, like what would it look like?
What's your legacy?
Yeah. Like what does the organizational chart look like for you to be able to operate at the best level as you can? Definitely. And then and the trick to that is not to build a organizational operating chart based on the team you have now. It's building the ideal chart with no names in it. What roles do I need? What does each role need to be doing? And then go back and say, what type of person is going to fit best in this role? Great, we have that type of a person, plug them in. But if you don't, then you know who you need to be going to find in order for your company to be operating at the best of its ability. And that is really whenever you're like, be able to really see where your company is going, whenever you can clearly build out that accountability chart and say, this is who I need. And the beauty of all of that is that natural phenomenon, nature abhors a vacuum. The moment that you actually create the space, those people start popping up because you can identify who they are, and they'll show up and for you to be able to plug them into your organization and have the right personality.
I guess the thing that's stopping me from that, and trust me, especially in these last 3 months, those are the things that I'm thinking of, is the time that I have. And I know, like I've said, I'm trying to delegate. Well, it seems like every single time that I delegate something I didn't even think about comes out of the weeds. And I feel like I need to hire more. I need to hire another service person. Probably need to hire somebody who can handle operations and whatnot, just so that I can focus on things like that we will ultimately grow.
That's why you build out that organizational chart. It shows you, because it shows you sitting in 15 seats. And then you're like, okay, of these 15 seats, what do I want out of first? Right? And then it also lets you know who you have on your team that are team players. Like when you do that with the key people that are in your organization, they can raise their hand and be like, I'll fill all 3 of those seats for you. I don't want to do it forever, but I know it's going to get us where we're going. So put me in, coach, right? You put them in the seats and the expectations are clear, and they can take on something right now that they may not even know that they could add value by taking. But once you fill it, it becomes clear to everyone.
See, it's a tough position to be in when you open a business. First off, always.
Right.
When you open a business and you come from a family that nobody's a business owner, so you don't really have anybody to lean on. Also, when you open a business during COVID, I opened April 1st, 2020, and it was tough, because I love my team at Chabert, Louisiana, but they were supposed to come physically to help me do it. And they didn't because everybody stayed where they were.
They couldn't.
Yeah. And so everything was on me. And so, you fall into bad habit. Now, I've undid those bad habits of the last 5 years. But right now, it's like I feel like I'm playing catch up on certain aspects because I focus so much on growing and producing myself. And so right now, it's trying to get away from that, focus on things that you were just talking about so that we ultimately can scale and grow and be, I mean, we have the potential to be as big as we want.
Yeah, that's exciting. And I'll tell you a secret. If you have that growth mindset, you're always going to be realizing that you have a habit. Because I wouldn't know necessarily it's a bad habit, because that habit that you're calling a bad habit got you to where you're at today. Right. But the
Maybe your best place in the organization.
For sure. And the trick is to know that the habits that got you to where you're at now are not going to be the habits that take you to the next level. So it's constantly learning to shift. And I bet you those things that you're realizing that you have to address because you're delegating things are things that have always been there, but you have the space to actually address those things because you have delegated something else. You're giving yourself some bandwidth to address it. Right. Now, the trick is once you've got your business operating and you have a system of solving problems, you're going to get to where you're getting into the nitty gritty problems that you're going to be addressing. You're always going to have an issue to solve, but if you have a organization that's comfortable discussing issues, then you're going to be constantly going to be growing because you are creating space in order to solve problems. And so, like, one of the tools that Lauren teaches is our meeting pulse that we do as an organization. And what our meetings look like on a weekly basis. Every department has one meeting a week, and we have a section of our meeting. The longest section of our meeting on the agenda is solving problems, and everybody is responsible for coming to our meeting with an issue that needs to be solved, and we solve those problems as a group. And so we call it IDS, which is identify the cause of the issue, discuss that issue, and then find a way to solve that problem. And we don't leave the meeting until we do. And you don't realize the issues that you have or maybe opportunities you have to be better because you just don't have an environment to, and I'm not saying you don't, but most businesses don't have an opportunity or a place for you to be able to discuss those things.
And being transparent to have that conversation.
Exactly. And having people feel
collaborative
comfortable.
Learning.
Yeah.
Is what I think is a value of all businesses.
Yeah.
To actually be transparent to say, hey, I have a problem, and I'm not here to be not afraid to ask somebody not in my position to help me solve that problem.
Exactly. And again, once the freedom and the question Lauren asked, can your business grow without you? It truly can operate without you for sure. Once you've created that system of being able to solve the problems on a weekly basis as a group, and then the next part of it is actually growing without you being there, which is something that it takes a little bit more time and energy in order to get to that point, but at least being able to operate while you're at Disney World and not have to feel the stress of people not being there. So,
and some people don't love the not being there aspect. It's really, really fun for me to watch the transition that sometimes those high performers and high producers, they thrive on closing that deal. And so they want to be put back there, even when we finish their operating system, because they don't like being held back with problems. And at the end of the day, being the executive and the problem solver is not who they want to be. But when you get to the top, that's all you do is deal with the problems every day. If you're not dealing with the hard problems, you're not properly leading, right? And it's fun to watch that because sometimes they're like, you know what? This is beautiful. I love all of this. I'm going to go back to what I'm best at, and I'm going to hire somebody to solve the problems. And so you watch that transition happen. You watch that happen when they start transitioning, the businesses to new owners within the organization as well. So cool process. It's all about that growth of self-awareness, and that's part of our plan that I think is different than any of the other operating systems. Because, to be completely honest, operating systems are operating systems. Same business principles that people have been studying for the last 100 years. That's not really going to change, right? But when you tie that in with an element of personal awareness and personal growth through the DISC assessments that we use, that's when you become your best self, your team members become their best selves, and everybody's moving in that one direction.
If you enjoyed this conversation and want to hear more content, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Facebook. We post conversations around our podcast on Tuesdays. On Wednesdays, we have real estate-related conversations. And on Thursday, we showcase part of our Arena Collective story. If you want to learn how to be a better business person, this is where you'll find that content. Please like, subscribe, and follow us. We look forward to seeing you on our page.